Hi everyone and welcome back to Crafts from Oz, and today we're going to create this beautiful three-dimensional picture that is really wonderful if you want to get your creativity out and you want to share your faith with a friend or a family member in the form of a gift, and it might be a good conversation starter as well. So what we're using a deep wooden empty frame that we're going to pop some insulation foam that you can just get from Bunnings and cutting off that excess with the hot wire cutter. And the hot wire cutters are quite good because they come with lots of attachments like this heated wand as well, where you can do finer details. It allows you to carve the piece out a bit quicker and is a little bit less messy, but by all means you can use a knife as well. You can create just a lovely piece with the basics, so you don't need a hot wire cutter at all. Now, a good idea when you're doing a natural rock formation like a waterfall, it can be wonderful to have like a reference picture, whether that's an actual photo or a painting. It just allows you to, follow a bit of a blueprint and make it look natural, because your eyes sort of want to make everything look uniform and straight. But nature isn't that. Nature isn't perfect. So, yeah, definitely useful to have a picture to help guide your build. And this is what it looks like when it's completely carved out. And you can see all the intricate little details in that. And now we're going to protect this wooden frame. And keep in mind the wooden frame absorbs moisture and water. So we're using just some basic sticky tape before we start this grouting phase. And you'll just need this sanitized Davco grout or something that sort of can create a hard rocky shell. So I think you can even use plaster, concrete, whatever's going to float your boat, or a mixture of crushed rock and glue I've seen people do. And you want to make this layer sort of a bit like a pancake consistency. And it may need 1 to 2 coats, and you want to make sure you cover in all those holes and cracks, and especially in the water hole parts for when you put the resin. You don't want the resin to leak out into this foam and totally disappear into your build. And now we're taking, after every layer of grout you do, take off that sticky tape before the grout dries so you're not going to crack it. And that's what it looks like after the first coat. We're doing a second coat, a different colour, and this allows you to make sure you've covered the entire thing, because you'll see the under layer of grout colour coming through if you've missed any gaps. So it just allows you, to get a clear view of have you covered the whole piece when you do the second coat in a different colour. Now you want to carve in little cracks. You want to wait for the grout to be almost dry but a little bit damp. Best time for carving. Now we're on to the painting. You just need some simple cheap acrylic paints will do, of all different shades of browns and black and white in there, different size paint brushes, and we're just going to have a little bit of fun. We've really got no plan. So you can just, sort of follow the painting we're doing or do your own. Totally up to you. And the painting can take a little bit of time, and sometimes you might need to pause, take a step back, have a look, and just keep going. But it doesn't, again, need to look perfect. We're trying to make it look like a natural rock formation with different colours. You want it to look like it's maybe been around for a while. The wind and rain and the waterfall have carved this rock formation and have weathered it over time. Now you do want to make sure the paint is completely dry before you start doing this dry brushing, which is a lighter white paint that you wipe most of the excess off, and so it just gets the raised areas. We're taking the sticky tape off after we've completed all of the painting, and this is what it is looking like so far. Now time for the tools. Time to get the knives out for one of the most important parts of our build. That's why we've got the special tools out. You can just get these little bits of wood from Spotlight, and we're just cutting it to size using the Gorilla Glue to stick it together to form our cross at the top of the waterfall, and then painting it whatever color you desire. You'll see that I did change the color of this throughout the build as the build was progressing, so you can just paint over it and have a play around. And we're going to stick that into place, and you can see I'm painting it again to see if this color suits it a little bit better. And now we're getting into what I find the really nice part of the build, sticking in all the plants and making this piece come to life a little bit, putting in those finer little details, the pops of color. And you can get these plants from hobby stores that do train builds. You can also buy them online for a bit cheaper as well, and you can make them yourselves. I know there's some YouTube videos of how to make your own plants. And to stick these plants into place, we're just using some Gorilla Glue. You can also use a hot glue gun as well. And there we have it. We've got all the plants in place before we do our next step, which is the resin. So the fun, exciting, a bit nerve-wracking as we want it to set properly. So please follow all the instructions. We're using this color tint for the resin. There's the instructions, gloves important. And let's make up this resin for our water holes. And I do like to let mine dry on an angle so it looks quite full, like it's overflowing, and that's what it looks like when it's set. And now time for the actual waterfall bit. So we're just using a really thin layer of plastic. You can get this plastic from the hobby stores, or like even the plastic that sushi comes in, the plastic boxes that's very, very thin. You can use that, which is a free, cheap alternative. And I'm just actually securing it in place with some of this quick dry resin. So you just need a small bit. You sort of use it like glue, then use the UVB light. Now to get that texture of the waterfall, we're just going to use a clear glossy glue, and Mod Podge is really, really good for this. And you're going to do layer upon layer upon layer. So we'll let this layer dry, and we want to create all these grooves so it looks like flowing water. We let this layer dry, and then we do it again and again and again. And you're going to build that up over time, and it builds up to make it look like flowing water. It's got a bit of dimension to it. It's not just flat. So it does take a bit of time to let it dry. Now we're using cotton pads. If you've got the cotton balls, even better. And you're just going to rip it apart, and you're going to stick little bits to the base of the waterfall, and then you're going to put glue over the top, mold it into like a foamy, I guess, foamy water that you see at the bottom of the waterfalls. So it's going to create that dimension, that fluffiness, and yeah, it looks like there's a powerful waterfall coming down into that waterhole. And this really does actually make the build look a little bit more realistic. And you can see I am changing the colour of the cross again. Now we've let all of that glue dry, we've done our texture, now the painting detailing. So what I'm doing is I'm going in with a dark blue because this is going to be the shadowy bits of the waterfall. So I want to get that into the grooves, the depressions of the waterfall, and you can sort of smudge it a little bit. And once this completely dries, and you've sort of smudged that into the depressions, you can go over with a dry brush with white paint. And dry brush is when you pretty much brush most of the paint off, so the paint's only hitting the raised surfaces. And all of this is just acrylic paint as well. And then we're going to go in with a fine brush. If I could do it again, I'd go in with an even finer brush or a pin to create really, really thin lines. But again, we're creating how you sort of see waterfalls look. So we're trying to create those lines, break it up so it doesn't just look like one bit of plastic. So we're just adding that detail through paint. And now we're adding a bit of white to the base of that waterfall to get that white frothy water at the bottom to make it pop a little bit more. And also another important part of waterfalls is the ripples. So we want to make it look like that water is flowing out from the cross. So it's rippling out, going down, and there's ripples at the base of that waterfall as well. Now, because acrylic paint doesn't dry glossy, you need to coat the entire piece with a clear drying glossy glue. So again, Mod Podge Gloss is a really good product to use for your waterfall. Next, giving our wooden frame a good sand before you start this next step, which is we're going to put the stain on. I just used a very dark brown stain. And after you've seen all of this stain painted on, that's the first layer. I did about 3 coats of this to make it the dark brown that you see in this next bit. And then we're going to do a high gloss on this, and it's just going to give it that shine and lock in that stain. And guys, I really do hope you did enjoy this build video. And if it is for somebody special, you can put it in a nice pretty box as well. And if you did like the video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up, hit subscribe, and you can create other designs like this. So you can just get a simple box and look what you can turn this little box into. It really comes to life. So you don't need a lot of money, just a bit of your own time, a bit of creativity, and you can create some beautiful gifts. And we'll see you next time with our next build. Bye guys.